Today's message, as you may have seen from my tiny screen, is called Waiting. And it's because this season of Advent kind of takes us into that waiting time before Christmas. I want to share with you a couple of scriptures. I was going to say they will appear on the screen, but they won't. So if you have a Bible or a phone or similar apparatus to read the Bible, then grab it and turn yourselves to the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk, I say to you. And chapter 1, and then we're going to also be dipping into Psalm 13 to have a finger in that if you wish. But these two scriptures I've chosen today, two places where we get that sense of the cry of the heart, the yearning, the calling out for something, looking at present circumstances and going, Lord, how long until you act, until you move? Whether that be in the corporate sphere, maybe over a whole country, or whether that be in your personal circumstances. So Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 1 says this: the oracle that the prophet Habakkuk saw. O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not listen? Or cry to you, violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see wrongdoing and look at trouble? Destruction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. So the law becomes slack, and justice never prevails. The wicked surround the righteous. Therefore judgment comes forth perverted. Ever had days like that, reading the headlines, reading the newspapers, seeing what's coming in your news feeds and go, Lord, why is it like this? So turn to Psalm 13, from the beginning of Psalm 13 as well. Oh, how long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. And my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I'm shaken. I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, because he has dealt bountifully with me. And there's that transition we so often see in the Psalms, the hopelessness of the situation, but the hope that people of God have beyond the circumstances. Our theme today, hope that causes our gaze to lift up above the immediate storm, the immediate circumstances, and begin to perceive what God might be doing. We've had a bit of a theme running all the way through this year about spiritual growth and discipleship, and that's where we sort of started. We started off that series, if you cast your mind way back to January, with the need for silence and space. And this kind of Advent message I want to share with you today is kind of bringing us full circle on that. Advent kind of means coming or arrival. It comes from the Latin. I don't know why I'm flicking through the screens, but it makes me feel like I'm busy. It gives me something to do. You know, it might be appearing on the stream, you never know. Advent means coming or arrival. And as I said before, sometimes it's kind of mashed together with Christmas, and we kind of see it all about the anticipation of Christmas, and we go rushing into Christmas. But it's actually a season in the liturgical calendar of the church, which proper Anglicans know all about, but I don't. You work through this kind of salvation story, the story of Jesus, the story of redemption. It works through this calendar, and the calendar starts, the first season in that calendar is Advent. So if you like, the redemption story starts with waiting. Waiting, it's the moment before, it's the anticipation, it's the pause. But we're not very good at waiting, are we? In this high-tech, high-speed, want it now, just in time, order it now, delivered today, delivered tomorrow, delivered next week. No, not good enough. I want it now. That's the kind of spirit of our age, isn't it? Waiting isn't very popular. Waiting isn't very comfortable. Waiting can feel like you're doing nothing. If I just say, oh, we're just waiting, who feels like the need to start shuffling or twiddling thumbs or looking at your phone? Do you remember when we used to go and wait in waiting rooms and not get our phones out? Do you remember that? I'm speaking to you, young people. You know, it's actually amazing. When you're waiting, if you're waiting for an appointment to start or waiting for a meeting to start or waiting for something, really good discipline. Put your phone away and just be aware of what's around you. Look, maybe even talk to another person. I know that sounds radical, but it's amazing. That's when these amazing little moments of interaction and communication and connection happen, when we put our phones down, when there's nothing to do and we just wait. We're just present in that moment. Going completely off on a tangent there. But yeah, waiting can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like we're doing nothing. We have great pride in being busy, don't we? How are you at the moment? Busy. How's things going? Oh, busy. And sometimes it can be a bit, but yeah, I'm really busy. But sometimes it can be a little bit of I'm so busy, I'm so essential, I'm plugged into so many things, I'm doing so many things. We can take a little bit of pride in being busy. So again, waiting, not popular on that score. And then there's another way that waiting can feel quite uncomfortable. Waiting is often linked with yearning, with frustration. You know, you're waiting for that appointment. You're waiting for that husband or wife or whoever you're praying for. You're waiting for the treatment to come through. You're waiting for the message to arrive. And that could be that sense of yearning, of desperation, of frustration, that painful heart cry as we got in Psalms and in Habakkuk. Oh Lord, how long? And there's a wonderful biblical word for this sense of waiting and yearning. We call it lamenting. There's a whole book in the Old Testament called Lamentations. That lamenting is a perfectly biblical good. I say good, it's not necessarily a comfortable, but it's a necessary part of the human condition. It's right to be sorrowful sometimes. It's right to be lamenting, that sense of waiting in yearning and hope. Advent also has this theme of prophetic lament, of a world gone wrong, of justice falling. Where are you, God? Who's ever felt that emotion? Where are you, Lord? Oh, Lord, how long, as we were reading. It's a really common theme throughout the Hebrew Scriptures, and particularly in the prophets. It's this sense of, the Lord is coming. The Lord is about to act. We believe it. But right now, we're waiting. We're waiting. We're in that moment before. But I want to suggest to you today that the waiting is essential. The waiting is necessary. It's in the waiting that our soul grows quiet and contemplative. And we actually cultivate the sensitivity that we need to discern what God is doing when he actually does it. It's in the waiting before that we quieten down, that we calm down, that we tune in, that we become sensitive, and then we perceive what God is doing. But again, that's tricky. We live in an age where there's this incredibly seductive idolatry. I want to call it that. And that's that God, or the divine, or the transcendent, the action, the truth, whatever you might want to call it, God is found in the big and the loud and the flashy and the successful and the shiny and the awesome and the amazing and the bang. Where in fact, God is almost never revealing himself in those ways. God is found in the small and the quiet. Think of some of the parables Jesus uses. A seed, a tiny little seed, growing quietly, day by day. You don't perceive it even. You can't see it, but it's growing. Or the yeast causing the bread to rise slowly, slowly. Small things. Not the shouts and the clamor and the crowds and the wah, but that gentle touch of the desperate woman. In amongst all the jostling and the noise, that woman who reaches out and touches him and is finally healed of the ailment that's been plaguing her for years and years and years. And in all the jostling and the crowd, do you remember the story? Jesus says, "Who touched me?" And the disciples are like, "What are you talking about? We're being jostled here. We're being knocked about." No, who touched me? In that one quiet, in all the jostle and the noise, that was where God was moving. God is moving in the still, small voice. God is moving in the silent tears. God is moving in the whisper. We want God to do a big thing, don't we? But God is planning to do a small thing. We're impressed by the big and the loud. God is not. Sorry to disappoint. We're in a hurry. God is not. We want God to act fast and flashy. But God is usually in the slow and the deep and the profound. You could ask, are we waiting for God to act, or are we waiting to quiet down and tune in to what God is already doing? Because God is always acting. God is always, as I shared last time, God is always establishing his kingdom. God is always loving his creation, loving his children. God is always inviting. But we may struggle to perceive that when we are clouded and distracted by anxiety and fear and impatience, all the energies that our culture foists upon us and surrounds us with. At this Christmas time that we're approaching, where we celebrate the incarnation, and just to warn you, there's going to be lots of "in" puns throughout this series. Our Christmas series is called Incredible. Incredible. It would have appeared on the screen and it would have been brilliant. INN, credible, incredible. Oh, now you get it. See, this is why we needed the PowerPoint. Turn the screen around. Incredible. Although there isn't an in the story, we will be making that point perfectly clear. But everyone thinks that there's an in and an innkeeper, so we're just going to roll with it, because why not? In this season of incarnation, you see, you're going to have to get tuned into this, an invitation. We celebrate God stepping into history, becoming flesh and blood, becoming this wonderful baby in a stable manger. And who discerns it? Who discerns that God has stepped into history in flesh and blood? Who discerns it? Is it the scribes and the priests? You know, the professional experts, the people who know all the prophetic literature, literally off by heart. They know all the prophets. Do they discern it? Is it the Pharisees, this fiery, vibrant, fired up religious movement who are in the center of the religious noise, who are loudly anticipating God's going to do something, God's going to do something, God's going to break in, God's going to kick out the Gentiles and restore Israel. God's just about to do it. They are hungry, they are waiting. Are they the ones that perceive? No. It's a bunch of pagan stargazers, astronomers, and peasant shepherds. Not experts, not shouty people at the center of the religious noise, but quiet people out on the margins. People who are gazing at stars and watching by night. We sing in all our carols, don't we? Gazing at stars and watching by night. These are profound, I think, metaphors for the contemplative life. It was people of long nighttime vigils and quiet observation who'd learned how to wait in silence that found their way to Bethlehem. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. It was these who were able to discern what God was doing, and it was these who were invited to participate. And they found, what did they find? They found a small and an unremarkable, commonplace thing. A young girl giving birth to a baby in pretty shabby, ordinary surroundings. But in this, they discerned what God was doing. They discerned God's action. Because God is always acting and always loving the world and always giving birth to something. Perhaps waiting for God to act is actually waiting to calm and quiet and slow our soul down enough to perceive what God is actually doing. To turn away from the loud and the domineering and the pushy and the flashy thing and actually catch that whisper. To turn our attention to the quiet and obscure and forgotten corners, far away from the corridors of power, or wherever we assume that the main action is. Oh, we should be at this place, we should be doing this thing, we should have this program, we should be going to that amazing ministry, or that thing, or this technology, or ooh. To slow ourselves down, to turn away from those shouty, shiny things that so obsess us as a culture and tune into the quiet, obscure, forgotten corners. We want God to act in the corridors of power, don't we? They would have wanted God to act in Rome, in the imperial capital. Go and sort those Romans out. Instead, God acts in a stable on the edge of the empire, a little place called Bethlehem. Where do we want God to act? Is it in Parliament? Is it number 10? Is it Washington, D.C.? Is it the Kremlin? Maybe he is. Certainly he is. But maybe we need to be tuning into what God is doing in your house, on your street, in your school, in your business, in some little quiet corner of Bognor Regis or surrounding areas. God is about to act. God is acting in your life, in our world. Advent trains us to perceive this. It trains us in waiting, in quiet contemplation. It's not a season to rush through to get to the main event. Quick, 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 light all the candles, bang, 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 yay. It's one to savor. I've been talking a lot about formation. Advent is a season to be formed by. I'm just going to invite the musicians to come back and hand over to Simon in just 1 second as I bring it into a close, and then we'll finish out our time together as the Lord leads. But my prayer for these next few weeks as we approach Christmas is that we will learn. My prayer for you is that you will learn this season to gaze at stars. Not just this one up here. You'll learn to gaze at stars. You'll learn to keep vigil in the fields, wherever your fields are. You'll learn to sit with Jesus, to be quiet, to wait, and then perceive the wonderful thing that God is doing.